as you slowly screw it in, it's going to be pulling it all together. Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies and welcome back to another build. Now this is this sucker. Does anyone remember what that is? This is the Hearns Hobbies Night Customs Blockhead Motors World 1 build. Okay, so welcome to part 2. This is where we're up to from last time. We've basically got a chassis, we've got some decals on it, and we've got some lights and some shock towers. Now I was just looking at this before from the overhead. You can see it's quite interesting how it's got that little box there. That used to be for the receiver batteries. You get your 4AA batteries sit in there, and then you've got a little hook on the end there which used to catch the rubber band for holding it in place. But with modern times we don't need that anymore, but there's a little remnant of that time in the 80s. Okay, so where we're up to, we have done step 4, which was preparing all the lights. Now I've got 2 of the lights on. There's a couple of spares in here. Whoops, which I'm just losing. Okay, so I've got them there. Now these are designed so they can take LEDs as well. Now after putting them together, they do look a bit ordinary with the yellow on the inside, so I'm going to be painting those chrome on the inside later. I'll do all those touch-ups and some finer bits at the towards the end. So we've just got lights, we'll throw them in here. Now we'll go back to our bag A, which has got all the parts for the subsequent bits that we're building. And next part is going to be part 5, or step 5, and that's the front axle. Okay, so we'll just see what we need here. We need this big chunky axle here. Whoops, which I had out, I'm sure I had out the other day. No, we'll just poke it through. Okay, so I've got the axle. Shocks I don't need yet. Gonna need some screws. 3x15s, which look like the ones in here. Then you just measure it up to the manual to be sure. Open up that here. So easy to get to the bits. Alright, so I need one of them. 3x12s. In the old days, the 3x12s used to be that gold colour. They're in this funky black now. Alright, so I've got 2 of those, and I just need some of those plastic bits. Alright, so I'm going to go dig it around. Oh, I didn't show you that. Well, there's a box for the Blockhead Motors Wild 1. Stick them down there. Alright, so what are E9 parts? Let's have a look. Just have to dig around here. Doesn't make more sense to look in the manual. Let's see. E parts, just look in the back. E parts got the gearboxes on it. Okay, easy to spot. As you see, the E parts are in chrome. They've got a very nice chrome finish on them too. Okay, so we've got E9 and 10. Okay, so these big chunky bits here. Get my side cutters. And we're going to need the bumper as well, which I'm sure is floating around. Where are you, Mr. Bumper? Oh, well, like he's probably hidden in this bag here. There he is. Alright, so we've got the bumper and we need the plate, which is the bumper support. Now that would be here too, I'm guessing. G1, I think it's a fiberglass bit. Oh, in doubt again, let's look in the back. G1, right, so we've got our screws here. Just this part here, G1. Oh no. Oh, that doesn't make sense, it's not that one. There we go. Oh, so it's in the bag. Let's pull the bag back out. Oh, it is too. There you go. Should have looked in there before. Alright, so we've got all our bits. Let's go back. Too far. Alright. So step 5, all our bits here. Now we just cut off these parts here. I always like to trim these off with a sharp knife. So let's just trim these edges off, make them look nice and crisp. Okay, so I've got that bit. I mean, if we wanted to be really pedantic, we could touch up these chrome bits as well. Bit of paint. Alright, so we've got those. The bumper here, let's just trim off a little bit off here too. Here's a little bit where the factory's cut it off the sprue. Okay, so what do? Got to recognise which bit's which again. So it looks like E10, E9, got a shaft to go through here, like so. Now G1 is a washer of some kind. It is G1, okay, it's got the driver figure in here. So we need the G1, just that one there. It's pretty special how all these bits have been chromed. Clean that off as well. Alright, so what are we doing? We need to put this through the center of the bumper. That goes through the fiberglass. And that all lines up. Washer in place. And then that screws onto the shaft. Alright, so I'm just going to do this up, not tight, just up, and we'll tighten it up really tight later, okay, because basically we want all these to line up. I stick these two screws in here into these blocks, do it up a little bit. I almost lost that. Okay, so just by doing that, you know that that's all lined. I haven't tightened anything up yet. And then we just screw it all into place. Remembering that you don't want to over tighten anything that's going into plastic. That's one side. And then we tighten up the center one. Bingo. So that's step 5. All done. So that's the front axle. Alright, so let's flip this over. We've got part 6 now. So part 6 is just up here. You may not be able to see properly. Okay, but we're just going to screw the bumper into place. So we need one 3x10 and 4 3x12s. Okay, so we've got our 3x12s here. Now in the early days, I never had a 3x10. The 3x10 was a new edition, and it used to be a silver screw. So I've changed it a bit for this one. Which one's a 3x10? Three by 10. These all look too long. Maybe there's another screw bag. Right, got some grease and some uprights in there. Nope. Over here. Nope. Oh, there it is. Something that I've dropped earlier. Here we go. It's just sitting inside here. Alright, that's that. Right, there's our 3x10. Okay, all sorted. Okay, so let's see. So 3x10 just goes through the bottom of the fiberglass plate. Okay, again, when you're doing multiple screws onto sub-assemblies, always leave them loose so that everything can align right. One in that side, one in this side. And as you do it like this, as you slowly screw it in, it's going to be pulling it all together. Okay, good stuff. All right, so I'm going to tighten up this one on the bottom. Okay, nice. Oh, this actually reminds me. Where I ended up last time, I was putting it on the decals and I didn't have my heat gun ready to put them on properly. So I should have actually done that before I've even put on these big chunky bits. But I'll do it just after I tighten up these screws. Alright, there we go. Whole bumper assembly's on. Alright, let's go look into these stickers now. So it was unusual that we had to put on these big stickers before we moved on to most of the build. Usually you see all this stuff going on last. So let's just zoom in here. So you may be able to see that it sort of bulges a little bit in certain areas where it's touching close to the chassis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these little pokey things. This is one of our gizmo tools. This is really handy for pressing down around edges of stickers and such. And it's probably hanging up here a little bit. As I'm putting my finger across here, I can just feel a little bit there. And we want to sort of flatten all that down too. Okay, so I'm going to get my heat gun here. Now a heat gun works faster, it's got more power, but you need to have a lot of control to do this. So you can use the regular hairdryer. So what this is going to do is it's going to heat the glue that's on the decal. That's why I'm pressing it down here, because what it's going to do is as it heats, it's going to bond to the plastic better. So we'll do around the inside first, and then we're going to concentrate on the outer parts. Let's see if I can get this to just stand here by itself. I might use this box to help me for the moment. Do that there. Put it here so you can sort of see what's going on. Is it going to work? Yes. All right. I just got my poker here, and I'm just going to gently press it down. And this is helping it conform to the perfect shape. Around all these parts. Now this is the main area where we needed it to conform. And now we've got the edges. Now let's see. I'll just heat the edge here and then try to fold it down. Now that's probably a good example of what I've just done there. You might be able to see that. Let's see. You can see how there's that different step there. And this is where I've actually folded it down over the edge of the chassis. You might see it just on the edge here too. Because if you don't do that, this will keep flicking and touching stuff, getting dust on it, and eventually they'll start peeling from that point. So we'll fold it all around the edge, and you see how it's just that little bit that's gone down. That's going to make a huge difference in making it more permanent. Okay, so we're just going to continue doing that. Let's just pull it out of the zoom again. So as I'm heating across the top, just folding it down with my thumb. And I can already see how it's folded down just by the reflection along the edge of the plastic. Now the other thing you can do too, sometimes if there's too little showing, it won't fold very well. In that case, you can trim it off with a knife. Let's do the opposite side now. Now, I think this is a pretty important step because this is so close to the bottom of the chassis. If you're driving the car, it's going to get quite a lot of kick up of dirt and dust. And if it picks up on the edges where it's adhesive, it'll just want to come off. Okay, again I'm going to use a little gizmo here. Press this down along the edges. And we use that to press these edges down too. Alright, that's pretty good. Curl these edges down too. Alright, done like a pro. Alright, excellent. Alright, so it's still going to be pretty warm. As it cools down, it's going to be a much more permanent part of the chassis. Okay, let's move that out of the way. Alright, so what are we up to now? We're up to step 7. So step 7 is the front arms. Okay, so we'll get our front arms still over here. Let's chop these off. So we've got E7. E8. Again, I'll trim these off to make them look pretty. Alright, I've got those. What else do I need? I need the uprights, which I saw in the bag here before. Oops, I just dropped everything. I'll be floating around here. Alright, we've got the uprights. They're in a nice black plastic. These originally would have been in a sort of whitey, creamy nylon colour. These uprights are quite well used amongst Tamiya models. Okay, so we've got that, we've got our uprights. Going to need some grub screws, which will be, where are they? Grub screws should be in one of these bags somewhere. Little shafts. Alright, so let's find our shafts. No, just got our shock shafts, body mounts, shock bodies. There's more shock bits. In here. Must be here somewhere. So look at this. This will tell me. Where are you, Mr. Grub Screw? Mr. Grub Screw's in B bags. That's why I can't see it. Alright. Let's open Mr. B. B. Alright, got B parts here. Oh, I have to chop that. Alright, so not that one. Not in that one. Not in that one. This is called Find the 3mm grub screw. Not your rear shocks. No, shock bladders, drive shafts. This is looking promising. There's our grub screw right in there. This doesn't seem right though. Where are the shafts? Oh, there is a grub screw here somewhere. Okay, grub screw. Well, there's the grub screws that came out of here. Alright, let's try and locate the ones that are... Oh, there we are. I had them already open. How silly of me. Alright, so there we go. Alright, Mr. B bag, sorry. I'll put you back over here. Okay, we've got a grub screw. Probably need two of them. They're going to hold onto the shafts. Look at our upright shafts there. Another grub screw. Get our ball ends. And we're ready to go. Alright, so where's a box wrench? I need that box wrench I saw here before. A classic Tamiya box wrench. Alright, so let's put on these balls. So they're on the outer hole. Start screwing them in. Such a handy little tool. Alright, so let's started cutting the thread. And do it up until it's just tight, there's no gap there. That's perfect. Just going to make sure that when we do this one, we put it on the right way around. You don't want to get it on the wrong way, or we'll have to undo it and redo it again. Okay, so these black uprights, they're a little bit tougher than the original nylon ones. The nylon ones, nylon is tough, but it is quite soft. And these black ones, I can definitely feel there's a bit of fiberglass reinforcement in them, quite stiff. So I'm going to take a little bit more effort to cut the threads. There we go, perfect. Right, you might see just a little bits of the plastic there where we've cut the thread. Okay, so now we need to get these swing arms the right way around. Okay, so this one goes in here. Like so. Get our kingpin in there. And just make sure it's even on both sides. And then the grub screw will go in the center there to lock it all up. I need my 1.5mm. And what I might do is, I might use a touch of this Loctite. Just to hold it all together. Don't need a lot of it. Now Loctite is best used where it's metal onto metal, because particularly this Loctite I'm using, if you get it on the plastic, it will damage the plastic. Okay, so there's one end. Nice. And now we'll do exactly the same for the other side. Get that kingpin all matched up, right spot. Again, get it centered. Oh, don't want to lose it. Pop it back in. All right, let's get just a touch of Loctite on here again. Okay, 2 uprights. Just check here. Yep, that's pretty good. All right, since we've got the Loctite, there was one spot here, which is metal to metal, and I'll just undo this big screw here that goes into the front axle. And if I'm really careful, I'm not going to lose that washer that's in place. I'll see if I can sneakily put a little bit of Loctite on this. I'll just slide it back in. This will keep this from vibrating loose. There you go, beautiful. Now over here I can feel a little bit of the decal sort of picking up, so it wasn't really successful folding down before. So in this case, I'm just going to trim it with a sharp knife. And this is where I start from this side and I'll push towards the decal. All right, so you see here, you might see a little dag just sitting up there now. So here, and push this way. So what you're doing is you're cutting against the decal, and it's using the edge of the chassis as like a template. Okay, so that's how much it was hanging off before. So it's hardly anything really, but that's what you can feel when you rub your finger over it, and that's what's going to pick up all the dust, and eventually the whole decal is going to peel off. So let's just trim the rest of this off. So you can do it really slowly. If you've got a really sharp blade, you'll have a lot of control. Okay, so that's much better. And then we'll just do this side as well. Actually, this side's not too bad. But you can definitely feel the back here. You can see how that's shaved off. There we go. Feels much better. Okay, good stuff. I'll just make sure that's still focused. It's better. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so that's all trimmed off. Let's continue on with putting on these front arms. Okay, so we've built the front arms. Now we're just going to make sure we got them on the right way around. And then we're going to put them on the axles. There we go. One over there, one over here. How good's that look? It's looking pretty good, I reckon. All right, and that's just going to be held in with some 4mm lock nuts. Actually, these are the ones with the flanged ends, which would be these. Alright, so flange ends have got the big chunky bits on them. It's going to hold it in place. It acts like a washer on the end. Now, seeing that these are lock nuts, we won't need any thread lock on these because the nylon on the end is going to lock them all together. Okay, use a trusty Tamiya wrench. Now, the original Tamiya wrenches, you can find them, actually had Tamiya cast into them along the side here. Okay, so I've done that up, and that's up tight. Now it's important that when they're tight, these are still really free to move. And I mean, they're pretty loose, so these are going to be no problem. It's just something to watch out for. Let's tighten this up. And that's all up, and that's all really free too. Okay, so that's perfect. That just makes sure that the suspension is going to move really smoothly. Alright, so that's step 8 already done. Gee, we're working at a pretty blistering pace now. Alright, so next step is going to be shocks. Okay, so we're going to do the front dampers. Now, I'm probably going to need a rag of some kind here. Where's our shocks? Okay, so we got our shocks. Got our springs, shock oil. It's a funky red colour. There's machined shocks. Look really nice. Okay, what else do we need? We need shock shafts. Alright, we got shock shafts here. E-clips. I'm going to pick these up. Let's see. Use my little gizmo to help me pick up these. These E-clips, you've got to be careful of these, you don't want to lose them. Pretty important little things. So these are going to be holding onto the pistons. Let's try and use this. No. Alright, so I've got 4 of those. Oh, I need some needle nose pliers. Let's grab them from over here. These are really handy, really fine needle nose pliers. These ones are from God Hand. I'm going to put one on first. Make sure it clicks into place. Okay, now they're ready for the pistons. Now the pistons, from what I can tell, are these machined Teflon ones, which is quite an upgrade from what they used to be. Just empty those into another compartment over here. I'm pretty impressed with these. Can you feel how slippery they are? I'll just do a bit of a zoom just so you can see. I mean, how nice are they? Quite thick too. Okay. Just make sure that's focused again. There we go. Alright, let's put these pistons on. Sounds like my seagull friends have turned up, having a bit of a fight over some food. Oh, they heard me, they're gone. Alright, so there's one piston on. No, I speak too soon, they're back. Okay, so there we go. All went on, nice and smooth. Okay, so what do we do now? We're going to open up these shock cylinders. Let's take the bases off them. Alright, so that's where our O-rings and guides are going to go. Like so. Okay, so basically our shock shaft and piston goes in first. So they can go through there dry, doesn't matter. Now what we're going to do is we've got all our O-rings and such in here. Now what am I looking for? I'm looking for the 3 more O-rings, must be these. Alright, so we've got 2 silicone O-rings, 2 shaft guides, which will be these here, these Teflon ones. I think they're the shaft guides. Where's the shaft guide? Shaft guides, and then there's the end, which is rod guide. There's these brass bits. Well, let's see if they fit. Yeah, it looks like it. Alright, let's start. Where's my rag? I've got a rag here. Alright, so I've got a rag handy. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to get the oil and I'm going to lubricate this shaft so when we put the O-ring across, it's not going to tear it. And I'm just lubricating a little bit of the shaft as well. Okay, so the O-ring goes on first. And then we've got the guide. As in the Teflon washer. And then we've got the brass. And then what I'll do is put a little bit of oil on the outside of this O-ring as well. Now you could use shock O-ring lubricant like green slime or something like that, that'll work as well. But since I only give you this, if you want to just use the oil, that's all you need to do. Slide that all into place. Like so, and then that's going to be sealed off with the end cap. And there we go. That actually feels really smooth. Nice. Okay, let's do exactly the same for this one here. A little bit of oil. Alright, so we've got O-ring, Teflon guide, brass guide, a little bit of oil around the outside of the O-ring. And then slide into place. And then end cap. Wow, how good's that? Smooth. Let's have a look, both exactly the same length. Nice. Alright, so what are we going to do now? We're going to fill them up. Okay, so before I fill it up, let me make sure I've got the damper caps available so I can seal it off when I'm ready. Okay, so let's start filling the oil. Alright, so I'm going to put it along here. Now I always pour it in a stream along the side of the shock body, so less chance of introducing air there, because the less air you got in there, the less you need to bleed it. So what's going to happen now is the oil is just sitting on top of the piston, and we need to push the piston up to be able to draw that oil through the piston into the bottom. Okay, so I haven't filled it all the way up. I'm going to do that now. You might see a little bit of air bubble come through. Don't know if you can actually see it there. It's not zoomed in enough, I guess. I guess if I do this, you can sort of see, maybe not. It's probably going to be a bit hard. No, a bit hard, I think. All right, let's keep on going. All right, so basically I've bled it. So there's oil all the way down into the bottom of the cylinder as well. We're going to top up the rest of it now. Okay, so what I do is I fill it until it's like the meniscus is just on the top. It's not overflowing. And by that I mean that it's slightly curved like this. Oh, is it the right way? It's cupped. Because when you're putting on the shock cap here, or I should say the diaphragm, it's going to push out some of that oil. Okay, so from here, probably going to push it, let's see, so it's fully extended, right? I can't really hold on too much of an angle for you to see, because otherwise all the oil is going to come out. Now if I put that diaphragm on it now, it's going to full on lock up, like fully pack. So what we want to do is probably push it up about halfway. And you'll see the oil sort of raises up a little bit as well. And as I put this diaphragm on, I'm going to push it in sideways so that the oil is forced out sideways. Like so. And then I'll put on the cap. Okay, so we've got all the excess of the oil is all coming out sides. Get the rag and wipe it up. Okay, so what it means is I had it halfway. It means that when we pull it, actually that's probably not what I intended. There's a little bit of bounce back, as you can see. But when we pull it, I don't think we actually wanted to suck up. So maybe I should have tightened this up with more oil in it. So let's just undo that again and try it again. Because it's a rebound that is a tricky bit to get right. Okay, so halfway wasn't working for this. As I pull it down, it's creating a suction, which means it's actually going to pull up. It's not what we want to do. All right, so let's try that again. So this time we're just going to leave the shaft fully extended. That's going to give us maximum rebound. Again, push it in through the side. Push it like that so there's no air trapped in there as well. Drop the cap again. All the excess oil is going to get all pressed out. Clean it up. So this time we had the shaft fully extended, and as we press it, you feel the pack at that point, and now we've got, it's fully rebounding. Now you can fine tune that as well. That's probably got a little bit more pack than I'd like. That's probably not a bad thing. All right, so that's something about shocks which you can adjust. Now the trick there is no matter how you like to set them up, whether you like rebound or not, you want them to work the same way both sides. Okay, so we're just going to try and replicate that on this one. So I'm just going to bleed this, Get all the air out of the bottom and some oil into there. There's quite a lot of air there. If you blow across the top like I just did then, it helps to break all those bubbles on the top. Alright, so again, I'm just going to have it fully extended. Put in some oil here until it's to the top there. And then again, we're going to get our diaphragm. Push it sideways so that you don't get any air. Put on the cap to seal it off. Okay, let's see what we've got there. So fully extended, press it up, got a bit of pack there, and then it comes out. Now what you want to do is you get them together, press them at the same time, see if they come out at the same rate, and they do, which is fine, that's what you want. Okay, see if we can get that a bit closer. There you go, that's what we want. Okay, refocused. There we go. Alright, so our shocks are done for the front practically. And all I'm going to do now is just give that a bit more of a wipe. Alright, I'll put that back down there. I don't think we need the oil again for the front shocks, but what we'll do is we're going to put on the springs. Oh, there's a collar there as well. It's a G2. G2 collar. Where's G2? Is that G? Okay, so we've got the collars here. Nice and pretty chrome again. I might give those a bit of a trim. Okay, let's pop those on. Gee, doesn't that look nice? Alright, so I'll put that on both sides. Spring goes on. Actually, the spring shouldn't go on yet. I've forgotten one important part, which is the ball joint on the bottom. Okay, we should be in here. Alright, so these are shock ends. Okay, trim the ends off. Okay, we're going to screw that shaft into these ends here. Now this is tricky to do because basically your shock shafts are going to be really smooth. You don't want to damage them. So if you can, shock clamps are the way to go, which is what we always use here. But I can understand that you may not have any shock clamps. So next best thing is get some side cutters or blunt, what do you call them? Pliers. You know, sometimes pliers have the wire cutting part on the inside. If you use this just to grip where the thread is, this will help you grip onto the shaft without actually touching the shaft and damaging it. So you just do this. Tighten it up. Alternatively, you use what we always use, which is these shock pliers. And the shock pliers allow you to grip onto the shaft, and because they're a soft aluminium, they're not going to damage the shaft. Okay, like so. Do the same for this one. Now I didn't have any verniers on me. What I would normally do is after I've screwed these up, I would measure the length of the shocks. Just so you know they're exactly the same length, both sides. Now I'm just going to eyeball it here. And it looks pretty good. Okay, so let's put on these collars, the springs, and then we've got these nicely aluminium machined spring retainers. It's quite an improvement on the original. Okay, let us put these on here. No, got it the wrong way around. That's it. Alright, there's a shock. All done. Feel really nice. Okay, let's do exactly the same thing on this side. There we go. Nice. Alright, so the shocks are complete there, but in step 11, we still need to add a few other things. So we've got some rubber grommets that go across the top of the shock cylinders. Okay, so these just press into place here. Alright, so there's one on. There's two on. And then we've got these brackets. I saw these brackets here before. I'll be these. And these are going to be the mounts onto the front swing arms. Okay, so what do we need? We need these tubes or pipes for the bottom of the shock. 3x15s and a 3mm lock nut. Okay, so we've got 3mm lock nuts. 3x15. Just check the size there. Yep. 3x15s. Two of those. Alright, so let's just make sure we get this in the right order. Okay, so tube goes through the bottom there. And it goes through here. And then the screw goes through. And nut on the end. Okay, so I'm just going to do the nut up finger tight, just to hold it in place for the moment. So that's one side, and we just want to make sure that from the other side, just for aesthetics, we want to make sure that the screw goes in the other way around. Alright, so finger tight nut. Alright, so here we go. So we've got the bolts going through different sides. So you got one through there, one through there. So when we screw them on, all the heads of the bolts are going to be facing the same way. Alright, now where's my wrench? I've got my wrench. Pop it in here, let's tighten it up. Alright, so I'm just tightening up these nut onto the screw. I'm paying attention to how far I screw it up because I want it to just nip up tight to this pipe. That's it. Okay, that's done. Do the other side. Okay, just tight, that's it. Alright, so what we want is, we want these to be loose, which they are, but it's still tight so that, actually, that tube's still moving around in there. I want that tighter so that the pipe doesn't move around so much. That's it. Okay, so it's gripped it a little bit. Let's check this side. Oh, they're still a bit loose, okay. That's it. So it's tight, but still really loose here. Okay, so you've got really free movement on the shock. All right, so that's step 11. Now what we've got is we're going to move on to step 12, which is going to be the mounting of the shocks. But I think we'll leave that until next time round and finish it off there. So there we go. Got front shocks. We've got a lot of the front end done actually, which is pretty good. So there we go. So thanks for joining me for part 2 of the Wild One build. So this is the Hearns Hobbies Night Customs Blockhead Motors version, special limited edition, number 1 of 10. So that's part 2, and we'll continue on fixing up the front next time around. So thank you for joining me.